Good mic work, back at you as promised with your WrestleMania predictions. We're also going to get into some wrestling news and some other things that I missed while I've been gone for the past couple of weeks, and I have yet another channel announcement for you. First of all, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the unbelievable support you guys gave me when I announced in my last video that this channel would most likely have to take a hiatus, possibly as long as until SummerSlam, just for me to deal with the craziness that is my life right now. I just do not have time to put out content as rapidly as I have been in the past, and I thought that maybe after WrestleMania, the Good Mic Work channel would just take a break for a couple of months so I can get my shit together. However, I have got some good news for you. After doing a little bit of thinking, you know what? You're not going to lose me at all. What I have decided to do instead, and I apologize for changing my mind left and right, but this is what is going to happen. Instead of me taking a 5 or 6 month hiatus from the channel, all I'm going to do is reduce the amount of content, everything else I do on this channel other than my weekly Raw reviews, like my pay-per-view reviews, my Q&As, my This Day in Histories, and any other thing that I might do. That is really what I'm going to put on hiatus. That is what I'm going to suspend, because I honestly do not have the time to put out the same amount of videos that I have done in the past. However, I still want to come up here every couple of weeks. I figured I can owe you guys at least that. It would not be that hard for me to do 1 or 2 videos a month. So from now until maybe SummerSlam or a little bit after that, expect that sort of content pace on the channel. So instead of losing me altogether, you're going to get me once or twice a month just talking about current events and coming up here with probably quick, casual commentaries. Some of them may even be uninformed because I'm finding myself busy on Monday nights now. I can't even sit home and watch Raw and live tweet with all of you anymore. I can occasionally, but it's not happening every week, so, you know, my focus on the product is not there like it normally is. But if I come up here once or twice per month with, just some casual chit-chat about the product, that will keep the channel afloat, give you guys something, give you your Good Mic Work fix, and I thought that it would just be a bad idea to abandon the channel altogether. So I have changed my mind on the hiatus, and that is the new plan. And I'm telling you, it was really a lot of you that factored into that decision, because on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, the unbelievable support you guys showed me when I said I had to take a break, wishing me well, hoping everything was okay, just unbelievable. So because of that, I've decided that I do not want to go away completely. You're just going to get less of me, that's all. So I hope that makes everyone happy, and it sure as hell makes me happy, because I want to keep this Good Mic Work channel rolling. I have not been making any videos yet. I eyeball my subscribers, and they keep climbing whether I'm making videos or not, so I really think it's in my best interest to keep this channel moving. And I also want to apologize because I never mentioned it when I talked about the hiatus. The big WrestleMania Memories commentary that I was promising at the beginning of the year, I did have to abandon that because I just didn't have the time to finish it. However, it's about 30% done. I wanted to get it done and uploaded a nice, good, big 3-hour commentary. I wanted to have it up a couple of weeks before WrestleMania just to get everyone in the WrestleMania mood, but I just did not have time to finish it. So maybe on the side, in between now and SummerSlam, when I'm only doing 1 or 2 videos a month talking about current events, maybe I will finish that commentary as just a little side project and release it to you this summer. I know it would be odd timing. It would be better if I was able to release that before WrestleMania, but hey, maybe in June or July, you'll finally get that big 3-hour WrestleMania commentary that I promised you would have already. And plus, I don't want to waste all the work that I already started on it, so I think I'm just going to kind of work on it randomly here or there and upload it when it's ready, so that will be something coming to you in a couple of months. Now, the purpose of this video is going to be mostly all WrestleMania. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to touch on WrestleMania, the Hall of Fame, a little bit on the Go Home Raw, the big controversial Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar confrontation that everybody's buzzing about, and we'll get into all that shit. Before we get into anything WWE, I do want to acknowledge the horrific tragedy that took place in Tijuana, the death of Perro Aguayo Jr. at a show, I believe, last Saturday. He was kicked by Rey Mysterio Jr., hit the ropes. Rey was going to set up for the 619, and he just was not moving. A completely crazy freak accident. I don't even know what the actual cause of death was. I'm guessing it was a broken neck. Maybe he just hit him in such a way that when he hit the ropes, it didn't even look bad. That's the most amazing thing about it. I thought maybe he had a stroke or something like that rather than a broken neck, because right before that took place, when Rey Mysterio head scissored him out through the ropes onto the floor, before. When he got up and got back in the ring, he was a little slower, and I started thinking that maybe whatever happened to him began at that moment. And then when Ray kicked him, that sealed it. Because even when he was laying on the ropes, not moving, his knees were moving a little bit, and I thought that maybe he was still conscious, and then he was out. And the very poor reaction, too, by the promotion and Conan and the doctors and everybody. And the match continued. They were doing moves over his lifeless body. Conan was slapping him in the face, trying to wake him up. You know, I'm going to defend that a little bit because sometimes guys get knocked out. And the guy didn't land on his head. It wasn't obvious that he had some sort of a spinal or head or neck trauma or something like that was killing him. It really wasn't that obvious. It just looked like maybe he was knocked out and they were trying to wake him up or, you know, just bring him back to life a little bit. But the guy was seriously hurt, you know, and the way they wheeled him back and they were picking him up and moving him around, it was just really hard to watch because nobody was doing what they were supposed to do there. I still don't think there's necessarily anybody to blame. I mean, this was a very freak accident. I can't even believe it happened the way that it happened. Normally, if a guy is going to die in the ring, he's dying of a pile driver or something like that, something that completely snaps his neck, a horrific accident. This was a kick that every single wrestler on the WWE roster has probably taken from Rey Mysterio Jr. in the past. A pretty routine move and a pretty routine spot for Rey, and for that to happen, I feel so horrible for Rey Mysterio. He's got to carry that around with him now, and I think it's really wrong if anybody out there is blaming him in any way. I heard people talking about how there was an investigation and maybe Rey Mysterio could be charged with manslaughter. No fucking way. There is no judge or court in this world that would look at that footage and think Rey Mysterio is at fault. If the riggers that dropped Owen Hart 100 feet to his death in Kemper Arena were not held responsible for his death, then there's no way Rey Mysterio should be held responsible for this kid's death. Not at all. Rey Mysterio is a 20-plus year veteran. He knows what he's doing. He's very safe. He was not reckless or careless in any way during that whole situation, and Rey is completely innocent, and we should all feel horrible for him because you got to think about how he must feel right now. They've already had this kid's funeral as well. I saw some photos of that. I believe Rey was a pallbearer during that. So it looks like the family is not holding him accountable at all, and I hope nobody else does either. All right, now let's get into WrestleMania weekend. I'm going to briefly touch on the Go Home Raw in just a minute, but I also want to talk about the Hall of Fame because I have not talked much about that in my last few commentaries. The Hall of Fame class this year is set, and you know what? It was a damn good one. And Kevin Nash being the final inductee announced last Monday night on Raw was so perfect. I was so happy to see that. I'm a huge Kevin Nash fan, always have been, and I already thought this Hall of Fame class was pretty decent, so adding him in at the very end was a nice little cherry on top, and I'm excited. The Hall of Fame class this year, of course, is headlined by Macho Man Randy Savage, who you guys know I am a huge fan of his. Macho Man was very influential to me as far as my memories in pro wrestling growing up. As a young kid, as a teenager, Macho Man was a huge part of my life. He was an iconic figure in this business. To me, he was just a notch below Hulk Hogan as far as his recognizability goes with the Slim Jim ads, and everybody knows who Macho Man Randy Savage is. I think him and Hulk Hogan really are the only two that if you ask anybody around the world, even people that do not watch wrestling, they might recognize Macho Man's name almost as much as Hulk Hogan. I still think Hulk Hogan's number one, but most people all know the, ooh, yeah, dig it and all that. They know who Macho Man is. And what I love the most about him is he had that unbelievable character that was unlike any other in the professional wrestling business. And on top of that great charisma, he was one of the best in-ring performers there have ever been. And that's a rare thing when you have both. Hogan did not have that. Hogan couldn't wrestle his way out of a dirty condom. The Macho Man Randy Savage was smooth. He was quick. It was a beautiful thing to watch him work a match, especially when he was in there with guys as good as him, like Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair and others. Savage was the fucking man, and I'm so happy that he's going into the Hall of Fame. If it was up to me, he would have been in a long time ago when he was still alive, because the Macho Man, as iconic as his voice is and his character is, wouldn't you love to see a Randy Macho Man Savage induction speech? I wish that these two sides could have come together, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. But this is the best they can do because Savage is dead now and we can't change that. So I will tolerate this, but I really wish it would have been done when Macho Man was alive. But I'm sure Lanny Poffo will do a great job accepting on his brother's behalf. He's a pretty well-spoken guy. Lanny's not one of my favorite people, but he's pretty articulate, and I think he can get his point across about how important and Macho Man's career was to all of us. Hulk Hogan inducting him. From a television and character standpoint in professional wrestling, there's no one better. Hulk Hogan is the guy that should induct Randy Savage, just given their history. Personal-wise, I don't think it's right. Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan had a very tumultuous personal relationship. They were hot and cold. They were friends. They were enemies. There was a lot of hatred going on. I think at one time Randy Savage legitimately wanted to kill Hulk Hogan, and I don't know how Randy felt about Hogan when he died. I don't think it was really... I think Randy might have been letting some of it go, but I don't think he ever really forgave Hogan or anything. I'm pretty sure Randy hated him all the way up until his death, and I don't know how he would feel about Hogan being the guy to induct him. But from a pro wrestling standpoint, yes, Hogan is the guy that needs to do it. Kevin Nash, like I just mentioned, he's the other guy that I'm probably the most excited to see go in because he's fucking hilarious, and I think one of the reasons I like Kevin Nash as much as I do is not because of his wrestling character or his wrestling in-ring work, is because he really legitimately seems like a normal motherfucking guy. And to me, that is so rare in pro wrestling because in this circus that we call professional wrestling, there's a lot of crazy fucking people involved in it. And Nash is somebody that is really just an everyday guy. He's a businessman. He doesn't make his life 100% about professional wrestling. He doesn't need it. He made his money. He's cool. He has several homes. He enjoys the beach. He enjoys to travel. He did his share of partying and drinking during his career, but never let it get the best of him, like a Scott Hall or a Jake Roberts or a Kurt Angle or anything like that. And aside from just one or two maybe run-ins with the law that he most recently had with his son, which is a really interesting story, Kevin Nash definitely, enjoys his vices, but he never becomes a complete shattered mess that doesn't have his fucking shit together. He's a smart guy. And he's got a good mind for the business. He never gets credit for that because the Clique was so widely hated, and Kevin Nash and Triple H and everybody involved there were viewed as guys that just wanted to do everything to hold people down. And I'm sure Kevin Nash did a little bit of that, especially when he had the book in WCW. If he has that power, of course he's going to look out for himself and his friends. You can't completely fault him for that. There were some of his decisions that he made that were not the best, but overall he understands wrestling. And this is a guy that didn't grow up in it. He didn't grow up with his dad wrestling. He was a basketball player that injured his knees and was big and decided to get into wrestling and was able to understand it to the point where he was capable, I think, of writing and booking a show, provided he wasn't a character on that show and he's just putting himself over. I think if Kevin Nash is coming up for ideas for other people and other matches, then, he's a great guy to listen to because he knows what he's talking about. And he's a great storyteller. He's going to have a great induction speech. I'm really excited to hear his. And I recently read Mick Foley tweeted that he was going to be inducting Kevin Nash, which I love Mick Foley. I'm kind of a little bit disappointed about that. To me, that's HBK's job. I have no idea why Mick Foley would be doing that and not Shawn Michaels. I'm hoping it's just a scheduling conflict. Shawn can't do it, Shawn can't make it, or something like that. But, I know Nash and Foley know each other. They've had run-ins in the past. I didn't know their relationship was close to the point where Foley would induct him. That actually surprised me. But Foley's great. Foley's another wonderful personality in this business, and I know he's going to have some great things to say about Kevin Nash when he is inducting him. And even though Foley and Nash have history, that January 4th Raw, that was one of my first day in histories. Both of those guys had title matches that night. Foley won his, and Nash lost his with the finger poke. So they have that night in common as well, and they do have some other history, but to me, the choice should have been Shawn Michaels. Rikishi, I got no problem with him. Love Rikishi, love that Samoan family. Put another one in there. He definitely deserves it. He's had a very long career. For a long time, Rikishi was viewed as kind of like Glenn Jacobs. I remember in the 90s, WWE just literally could not figure out what the fuck to do with him. They brought in Unabomber from Smoky Mountain, made him Isaac Yankem, and then he came back as New Diesel, and then finally put him as Kane. When Rikishi came over, he was working with Samu in WCW. They came over to WWE as the Head Shrinkers. Samu left. They replaced him with the Barbarian, or I forget what they called him back then, Sione, something like that. And when that team finally split up and died, Rikishi was brought back as, it's time to make a change. He was wearing all those loud colors, and it was just fucking pathetic gimmick. And then that went away, and he came back as the Sultan, and that fucking sucked. And then finally he reemerged with the thong, which at first looked terrible. And then when they realized he could dance and he was out there with Too Cool, he was instantly over. And then the stink face was born. And Rikishi became a huge character in the Attitude Era, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because he's had a long career and he's good. When he was in the Head Shrinkers tag team, when he teamed up with Samu, one of the things I liked about him the most for his size is he had an unbelievable top rope splash that looked so fucking believable because he's big. I enjoyed watching Rikishi's top rope splash more than Jimmy Superfly Snuka's. That's a true story. Unfortunately, years later, when he got too big, he was just unable to perform that move. But I always thought Rikishi, for his size, was incredibly agile and sort of a high flyer. I mean, hell, he even took the bump when he was pushing 400 pounds off the Hell in the Cell into the bed of that truck during that six-way match during the Attitude Era, Armageddon, I think it was. I forget what year. So Rikishi, he's always been, a guy that's not scared of heights. Didn't he even splash somebody off the top of a cage during the Attitude Era as well, during a cage match or something? So, Rikishi's a pretty awesome guy for somebody as big as him. The Bushwhackers going in, I kind of laugh at that. I love the Bushwhackers. I mean, they were an iconic tag team back in the day, very recognizable. The music, the swinging the arms, they had the dolls, the toys. The kids loved them. They were a big part of the show, but as far as being serious contenders, they were never serious contenders. To me, they're in the Coco Beware category. They've been in the business a long time, too. They have a great legacy from their sheep herder days and their Bushwhacker days, and I do believe they deserve to go into the Hall of Fame. I don't have a problem with it. But to me, they're another one of those inductees that, at least in the WWE, it seemed like they lost more matches than they won. But I have nothing against the Bushwhackers. Congratulations, Luke and Butch. I'm sure their induction speech will be hilarious, and I fully expect them to lick some people. If it was me, I'd be licking a diva. Alundra Blaze, I think I did touch on her a couple of weeks ago. I'm glad she's going in. I really am. I mean, I'm a big Medusa fan. She was a great ladies wrestler, but after what she did to that belt, dumping it in the trash can on Nitro like that did not sit well with me at the time because I was right in the middle of that war, and I was firmly on the WWE side, and I remember watching that live that night when it took place and being seething fucking mad. I had fire blowing out of both of my ears. I was so pissed off, and I was mostly pissed off at Bischoff because I just fucking hated him, and I couldn't believe that he was doing that. What a dirty, evil fucking bastard he was. I was so mad. Looking back now, it's like, hey, it's a war to the death. You got to do everything you have to do. And Bischoff, I have no ill will towards him now. I think he did some dirty, underhanded things, but, Vince, it's not like he doesn't do dirty, underhanded things either. It's a sick-ass business, and, Bischoff ended up losing in the end, so I don't fucking care. Luckily, it was the ladies' title that was basically non-existent in the WWE anyway. If it would have been the European title or the Intercontinental title, or heaven forbid, the fucking world title, that would have been a mess. So I think time heals all wounds. Everybody's come back. From Warrior to Brett to Bruno, they're all slowly coming back and mending fences with the WWE, and Alundra Blaze does deserve to go in there. She was fantastic. In my opinion, she deserves to go in as far as her work goes everywhere else other than WWE. I remember her a lot more for her work as Medusa rather than Alundra Blaze. I mean, her run in the WWE was relatively short. The women's division, they tried to get it picked up. It lasted for a little while, but it quickly fizzled, and the whole thing was completely built around her. She was going to be their centerpiece, and then they were going to make challengers for her. I think she dropped the title once, won it back, and then after that it was pretty much done. Larry Zbyszko's also going in. I'm curious on some of these inductors. I don't know who's inducting these guys. I really want to know who's going to induct Zbyszko. Would be really cool if Bruno did it. It really would, but I have no idea. And really happy about Fujinami going in as well. I know a lot of people don't know much about him, and probably not Zbyszko either, but some of the Hall of Fames, this is my favorite part, is when they induct the really old school guys. I loved a few years back when they did like the Blackjacks and Nick Bockwinkel and guys like that, because I remember a lot of that stuff. And Zbyszko and Fujinami, to me, are more than deserving of going into the Hall of Fame. Both of them probably should have already been in there. We got a celebrity this year, of course. It's going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger this time. That's fine. The celebrities are fucking stupid. It's just a part of WWE's celebrity wing, get some publicity, and Arnold Schwarzenegger has done things with WWE in the past. He's a huge name in the entertainment world. Everybody knows who Arnold is. And so for the WWE to put him in the Hall of Fame gives them great publicity. I see why they're doing it, and I have no problem with it. There's also a new feature this year, the Warrior Award, that's going out to that little kid Connor that died last year. So sad. The WWE did that big piece on him last year before WrestleMania 30. He loved Daniel Bryan. They invited him to several shows. He even made it to WrestleMania 30, sat in the front row, got to see Daniel Bryan win the title. Bryan comes out and immediately hugs him. They just gave this kid just an unbelievable last few months of his life, and I think shortly after that he died. He had a rare form of terminal cancer, and when you see that happen to a kid that age, it's just heartbreaking. That kid lived to be 9 or 8. I mean, that's just horrible. Think of all the surgeries and the pain he had to go through, and just how awful some of these diseases are. And this whole thing is to benefit his cure. They're trying to find a cure for the cancer that he had so no other kids have to suffer from this shit. And now they're putting him in the Hall of Fame, giving him him this Warrior Award that is named after the Ultimate Warrior who also died last year, the fucking day after his promo on Monday Night Raw that still blows my mind that it happened. It shocked all of us. So those two deaths that took place that were all surrounded around WrestleMania 30 last year, WWE has decided to honor both of those people, the Ultimate Warrior, naming an award after him and giving the very first award to that poor kid that died last April. It was just such a tragedy, and putting it in his name and making him the first inductee and putting him technically in the WWE Hall of Fame, to me, I know that would make Connor very happy, and if he were alive to see that, he would shit his little pants. So I'm fine with the WWE adding this award. I'm sure at the Hall of Fame it will be a very, very touching tribute, and should be nice to see. All right, let's start moving on to WrestleMania. I want to touch briefly on the Go Home Raw. Saw a little bit of it. Of course, I wasn't home. I was flying home, actually, from Las Vegas. I had 4 full days there of partying. I feel like complete shit, but I'm still going to get this goddamn commentary up if it's the last thing I do. But I was actually in the air flying home during Monday Night Raw. I went straight to bed as soon as I got home, and I really didn't catch anything but a few clips on YouTube. I know a lot of people are very upset about the Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns confrontation on Monday Night Raw. I'm going to go out on a limb here and defend it. To me, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar have not had any contact at all. I think they were supposed to meet in the ring the night after the Royal Rumble, but the snowstorm wiped that out and they did the shit in the studio. After that, the contract negotiations with Brock, which, by the way, yes, he did re-sign, and I will be talking about that and how that could factor into the main event, and I am thrilled that he is sticking around. It was the greatest news that I have ever heard, and he announced it on ESPN. How awesome is that? ESPN's always been very good to the WWE. They're constantly mentioning them on SportsCenter. All the announcers are big WWE fans. You can tell. They always throw out quotes and shit like that. You got Jonathan Coachman over there. Michelle Beadle's a huge fan. They had Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman on that Sports Nation show. I think today I caught a clip of that, which was really good. And Brock announced right there that he was done with MMA. He's officially retiring from pro fighting, and he's going to stick around in the WWE, and he has re-signed with the WWE. So the fact that Brock is sticking around is so awesome. And I think it could play a role in the main event match, and we'll get to that in a minute. As far as the confrontation on Raw goes, like I said, basically all they did was have a tug-of-war with the belt. Paul Heyman and Brock were out there. Heyman cuts, of course, a great promo as always. Roman Reigns comes down at the end of it through the crowd, gets in the ring, and instead of a brawl, they just kind of tug on the belt. Now, to me, I'm fine with that because we've never seen these guys wrestle before. Finally, something new. I know a lot of people hate the push that Roman Reigns is getting. He is still getting booed. I really am curious what the WWE is going to do. We'll talk about that match later in my predictions, but to me, it's not the worst thing in the world for WrestleMania to be the first time these guys touch each other. And you know what else? I don't think the match is going to be half bad either. I really don't, because, we don't know what we're going to see. You can't just assume anything. You cannot blame the WWE's stupid-ass booking of Roman Reigns on Roman Reigns. He's not the one doing it. All Roman Reigns can do is go out there and do his best, do what he's told. And if he's told to go out there and have a match with Brock Lesnar, he needs to have a good one. So all I'm asking from fans is just don't be so blinded by the Roman Reigns hatred that you're unable to judge the actual match. It might be good. Yes, it would have been nice to see a brawl, I do admit, because it was the go-home Raw, and usually that Raw before WrestleMania, that is your final chance to sell a few more pay-per-views. Yes, granted, they don't have to sell as many now, because it's all for free on the network, but you still have to get people excited to watch WrestleMania, and that was their last opportunity to do it. So the fact that Brock Lesnar is such an ass-kicking killer, and he just goes out there and tugs on the belt with Roman Reigns instead of taking that belt and shoving it up Roman Reigns' ass, I understand your complaints and I understand your argument. For me personally, I just didn't mind it that much because it's old school. Fans have no concept of this anymore, of moving slow. Everything's got to go so fast. Today's generation just does not fucking get it. And the fact that these guys were kept relatively away from each other because of Brock's appearance limitations and his schedule and things like that. He's not on every Raw. It was up to Paul Heyman to go out there and cut promos and sell this pay-per-view every week. It was up to Roman Reigns to go out there and have the matches and win every week to help build him stronger and stronger for Brock. We know Brock is unstoppable. He raped John Cena at SummerSlam. He's won every title defense since then, and now he's going in WrestleMania against a brand new opponent, somebody that he's never stepped foot in the ring with before. And the fact that we don't know what a fight between these two guys will look like, to me, is good. Finally, some anticipation. Some of us are wondering, hey, what's it going to be like to watch these guys fight? We're not going to know until WrestleMania. That's not necessarily a bad thing. So I can see both sides of it. I see the people that think it was stupid, that these two guys just tugged over the belt instead of fighting for the belt. Yes, I get it. You're right. But for me, I don't mind it so much. Sting opened Raw too, which was really cool. I mean, Sting, for the first time ever in the history of wrestling, in the history of all time ever, Sting opens Monday Night Raw. Pretty cool. Confrontation with Stephanie McMahon. Triple H comes out. It's baseball bat versus sledgehammer. I'm excited to see that match too. Bray Wyatt cut an unbelievable promo on his match with The Undertaker. A lot of Bray Wyatt's promos, even though he's a great promo cutter, he's a great talker. I can understand the argument that maybe he goes on too long, he can be boring at times. This promo was not like that, however. I listened to every word he said. It was great, and this guy's amazing. Cena and Rusev, I think, also had another pretty good confrontation. Rusev had the accolade on him on the announce table, and John Cena passed out again, so Rusev got the best of him again. And, of course, I will be talking about that match, too, so keep your pants on. I love the Snoop Dogg and Hogan segment. I mean, anytime Snoop is out there, I'm just laughing my ass off. And then Curtis Axel comes out. He's doing that Axelmania gimmick because he was never eliminated from the Royal Rumble. I actually like it. He's pretty funny, even though they're turning him into a joke. I swear, he's like the new Damian Sandow. I would like nothing better for him to win that Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I don't think he will, but I think it would be cool if he did. But the little confrontation he had with Hogan was kind of cool, and then Snoop and Hogan posing at the end was pretty funny. All in all, judging from the little bit that I saw and the feedback from all of you, this was not the greatest go-home Raw for WrestleMania that we've ever seen, but it wasn't horrible either, and I think WrestleMania might surprise us. So let's get into my predictions. Holy shit, are my predictions all over the fucking place. I have not been watching. As you guys know, the last 3 out of 4 Raws I have watched on YouTube. I have watched nothing but clips, or if the full show happens to be on YouTube and I can find it, I skim through it quickly and try to catch the important stuff. So I have not been watching every single minute of every single show. So I'm a little bit more excited for this WrestleMania, I think, than a lot of you, as I have not had the chance to be pissed off about the build for this year's WrestleMania. A lot of people are just saying the magic is not there. I agree, it feels like it's not, but when I look at the card, the matches have been built pretty solidly. Rusev and Cena have got a great story. Randy Orton and Seth Rollins have a great story. Sting and Triple H have a story. Undertaker and Bray, Roman Reigns and Brock. To me, it didn't seem like it was like that last year. It seemed like more shit was thrown together. This is more almost structured. So I'm going to do my best in good mic work fashion to remain positive about WrestleMania, and I think that it can surprise us. I don't think anybody is expecting this to be the greatest WrestleMania ever, but guess what? What if it is? It just might be. Who knows what the WWE will throw at us. It also might suck. I'm not denying that either, but I'm going to at least keep my hopes up, and I'm not going to be a spoiled, jaded, cynical jack-off and just automatically assume that this is going to be the dumbest fucking show in history. I want to have a good time watching it, and I want to enjoy it. So let's start off with the pre-show match. It's a tag team title, I think, fatal four-way. You got the Matadors, you got New Day, you got the Usos, and tag team champions Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. I see no reason for any of these teams to win the titles on the pre-show, so I say Tyson Kidd and Cesaro retain. Divas match, AJ and Paige versus Nikki and Brie. I don't fucking know. A stupid-ass tag match. This one I don't care about, even though I'm so happy to see Nikki, and I cannot wait to see what she wears. But you know what? I'm not picking her to win. AJ and Paige are going to win this match. That's what I think is going to happen. Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I don't even know who the participants in this thing are. I'm guessing it's just as many undercard guys as they can manage to squeeze in there. I would love nothing more than for Curtis Axel to win this thing, because imagine how obnoxious he would be if he did. But unfortunately, I think they're using Curtis Axel as a joke, and they're not going to have him win any serious matches, and I think we're all on board with the same idea. We've seen the vignettes for Sheamus. I'm not the biggest Sheamus fan, but the WWE is. They really like the guy. He's been on the shelf for a while. What better way to bring him back than in WrestleMania, have him win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal? That's who I'm picking, Sheamus. Intercontinental title match. Whole bunch of guys in this thing. Wade Barrett, Dolph Ziggler, Daniel Bryan, Stardust, among others. I'm hoping this will be a really entertaining Money in the Bank type of match like the WWE has had in previous years at WrestleMania. And I'm actually going to pick Daniel Bryan. That's right, I'm going to pick Daniel Bryan to win the Intercontinental title. I want him to, for a couple of reasons. Number one is it'll elevate the fucking title. And obviously, the WWE does not want Daniel Bryan anywhere near the world title right now. And if he were to win a big match like this for the IC title, at least it gives Daniel Bryan something to do, keeps him relevant, keeps him in the mix. And I think he would be a great Intercontinental champion. And what I would like to see is not only Daniel Bryan win the Intercontinental title, but hold your breath. Here comes my next prediction. I want to see John Cena win the United States title. That's right. I know every single one of you would think it would be the dumbest thing in the world for John Cena to win. I don't. He lost at the last pay-per-view. This is a program with Rusev that will stretch probably maybe even one more pay-per-view after this. They could have the blow-off at Extreme Rules for people to be so cynical and say, no way can John Cena win this match. Yes, he can. You don't have a program where one guy wins all the fucking matches. That's not the way it worked. If John Cena would have won at Fastlane, then yeah, maybe I would pick Rusev. But in this situation, John Cena is going after the U.S. title. I can't see him falling short twice. Rusev has been on an unbelievable roll, and I've been the type of guy that's been defending, hey, when somebody finally does knock off Rusev, wouldn't you want it to be on a big stage? You don't want Rusev to finally lose that title on Raw or SmackDown or Battleground or something like that. Have this loss take place at WrestleMania. Rusev being involved in a big-time match like this, it amazes me that anybody can think that the WWE is going to treat Rusev unfairly if he's going to lose. This guy is working with the WWE's poster boy at the biggest show in WWE. He is in a high-profile match for a championship and an unbelievable payday and an unbelievable amount of exposure, win, lose, or draw. And Rusev has still remained pretty strong in this feud with John Cena. He has not been looking weak. He had that one moment of weakness where John Cena put him in the STF and forced him to give him a title shot. Big deal. John Cena has already passed out a couple of times due to Rusev's finisher. These guys have had some pretty decent brawls. It's not the worst feud in the world, and if John Cena wins, everybody needs to calm down and look at the other side of this coin. You could have Daniel Bryan and John Cena both holding the underneath titles. Imagine what that would do for the Intercontinental title and for the U.S. title to have these type of guys that both held the World Heavyweight title the previous year, are now holding these belts. And John Cena can't be the U.S. champion forever. Who's to say he can't drop it back to Rusev at some point? They'll probably work again at Extreme Rules. All I'm saying is John Cena will probably win this match, but in this specific situation, a John Cena victory would not be wrong. Last year, that's a different story. I would have actually liked to see Bray Wyatt win last year, and all of you who wanted to see that and thought it was bullshit, I agreed with you. This year, I do not agree with you. And hell, look at it this way. At least if John Cena's United States champion, at least he's not world champion, right? So at least if he's doing that, it keeps him away from the world title because none of us are ready to see him break Ric Flair's record just yet. Hopefully we can have an entire 2015 with John Cena not winning the world title. That would be nice. And if he's going to be U.S. champion and involved in feuds, on the mid-card level, just shut your fucking mouth and enjoy it. Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker. This is another one that is just racking my brain. There's so much of me that wants to pick Bray Wyatt because I've mentioned it several times in previous commentaries. The streak is dead. It cannot die any more than it already has. So at this point, what's the difference if Undertaker loses one or two matches? Now, in a weird way, I almost thought that Brock Lesnar's WWE status might factor into the finish here because I was thinking to myself, if Brock Lesnar was going to leave WWE after WrestleMania and head to the UFC or head back to MMA, I would think that WWE might want to have Bray Wyatt beat The Undertaker just to make it seem like what Brock Lesnar accomplished wasn't as great as it seemed. Because The Undertaker is old, he's slowing down, he's clearly on his last legs, and basically anybody can beat him at this point. And I thought they might go that direction if Brock Lesnar left. But now that he's sticking around, I don't know. I mean, Undertaker could come back. I would love to see him win. I mean, he's The Undertaker. We all love The Undertaker. He's an icon. But he also has not been seen in 1 year. And he did not have any build-up with his match with Bray Wyatt. It was all Bray Wyatt. Undertaker did not make one appearance on Monday Night Raw leading up till WrestleMania. So for him to come back for one match, beat one of the WWE's top stars, and leave, to me, would be wrong. Maybe The Undertaker can give a little bit back on his way out. How many more matches does this guy have? One or two? I would hope that next year is his final hurrah. Or hell, maybe this year. Maybe Bray beats him, just like I said. Undertaker drops his final two. He's finished with wrestling, and next year he goes into the Hall of Fame in Dallas. I'm kind of hoping the WWE does something like they did with Ric Flair, maybe center the whole weekend around him. I would like to see The Undertaker go into the WWE Hall of Fame and have a match, kind of like they did with Flair. That would be the way I would do it. But if they want to have Bray Wyatt win, Bray Wyatt could be a huge part of their future. He is a relatively young guy, second-generation wrestler, unbelievable on the microphone. You would think that the WWE would not want to put the brakes on all of this and have him lose. I mean, he lost to John Cena last year. Having him come out and lose to The Undertaker this year, this is one of the guys that's going to build your future. So this should be the moment. This should be Bray's moment. If WWE really, truly likes Bray as much as the fans do, Having him defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania would just, oh my God, it would just skyrocket, his status in the WWE, and I kind of hope that he wins. I'm still hesitant to predict him, though, because for Undertaker to come back and, just being the iconic figure that he is, part of me also thinks that he needs to bounce back from that WrestleMania win, get his groove back kind of thing, and then maybe have his final match next year. So it's a really tough one to pick. I think it can go either way, but I think I'm going to stick with my instincts. I've mentioned it in previous commentaries. I'm going to pick Bray Wyatt to beat The Undertaker. Sting and Triple H. This one is pretty easy to predict. Got to go Sting all the way. For all of the burying and all of the holding down that Triple H has been accused of over the years and his shady tactics and all of that, those aren't altogether true, but they're not altogether false. But still, at the end of the day, Triple H is somebody that really respects the history and tradition of the business, and he, more than anybody else in the WWE's higher-ups, knows about the legacy of Sting. A lot of WWE guys, Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, they're in their own little WWE bubble. I don't think they quite fucking get it. Triple H gets it, and I think he's going to be more than happy to do the honors for Sting, bring Sting into the company like he should have been all along. I have the utmost respect for Sting because of the character that he built for himself, his iconic status that he was able to accomplish without working for Vince. That's unheard of. And finally now, yes, even though he's up there in age, yes, I wish he would have been there 15, 20 years ago to have great matches. He's here now. He'll be working with Triple H. I expect them to have a very old school match. Don't expect flying head scissors and moonsaults. This is going to be a ground-based mat attack by both guys. The build-up on TV for this match has not been horrible, and for all of us, it's just great to see Sting in the WWE. And when you think of all the guys that he could have worked with other than Undertaker, there's really not a whole lot on the list. Triple H is the guy, because you got to think Sting doesn't really have that much history with anybody in the WWE, because there's really nobody left from the WCW years that he feuded with that's in WWE now, and nobody really in TNA either. Triple H is the guy that they decided to center his storyline around, and I think it's worked out just fine, and I think the match is going to be good, and I think Sting is going to win. I would think Sting wins this match via pinfall. I can't see him winning via submission. First of all, I don't like Sting's Scorpion Deathlock. You know how everybody complains about John Cena's STF and how bad it sucks? Sting's Scorpion Deathlock sucks just as bad as John Cena's STF. The move doesn't even look like it hurts. Sting is slunched over the whole time. He's not even cinching up. When Bret Hart applies the sharpshooter, he is bending that motherfucker in half. Sting is just holding him there, just holding his legs up like he's not even doing anything. That's my only critique of Sting and his in-ring work, is that every time he puts on that Scorpion Deathlock, it looks pathetic. So I do not want to see Triple H tap out to that shitty move. I would rather have Sting hit Triple H with a Scorpion Death drop and pin him 1, 2, 3. At some point the referee will be knocked out and it will be baseball bat versus sledgehammer, and I'm sure Triple H might take a baseball bat to the nuts that'll set up Sting's finisher and the 3 count. That's the way I would book it. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. I almost forgot about that one. This I'm expecting to be a really good match. I truly am. And I'm not expecting it to end here. The next pay-per-view will be Extreme Rules. This should be a perfect place for a gimmick match, a cage, a last man standing. Something like that has got to take place between Randy Orton and Seth Rollins, given the bad blood between the two, and given from the way it looks, this is a straight-up match. I do not believe this is no DQ, unless I could be wrong. I think I have the potential to get every single one of these matches right, and I also have the potential to get every single one of these matches wrong. To me, I don't think there's any sure winners. The only one I feel really confident about is Sting, but really, I could be wrong there too. Everybody else, it's kind of a fucking toss-up, and this match is no different. So maybe Seth Rollins wins this match, because if he does, it can get the fans' brains turning, and they could be saying to themselves, oh man, maybe he will cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase after the main event. WWE has got to want the fans to think that's a possibility. So for Randy Orton to completely annihilate Seth Rollins and leave him in a pool of blood, piss, and vomit would not be a good idea, because you want to get those fans thinking that he could still cash in. So I say Seth Rollins wins with some shadiness, fucking Kane, J&J Security, who knows what the fuck's going to happen. Something's going to happen. They're going to cost Randy Orton the match. That will lead up to the gimmick match at Extreme Rules. So I'm going to pick Seth Rollins to win that match. Now, so far, when you look at who I've picked, yes, I picked John Cena, but I balanced it out with a Bray Wyatt victory, with a Seth Rollins victory, with a Daniel Bryan victory, so it's not all bad. Now we get into the main event, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. On one hand, you say, wow, the WWE could do this, they could do that, they could do this. Or on the other hand, the WWE could just stay the course, just like they did at the Royal Rumble. No matter what the fans did, no matter how hard they booed, Roman Reigns was going to be their guy. That, I think, would be the outcome if Brock Lesnar was was leaving, without a doubt, Roman Reigns would beat Brock clean, and it wouldn't matter how loud the fans booed. That's what the WWE would do. Now that Brock is sticking around, why can't he retain? Oh, I would love to see that. I am the biggest Brock Lesnar fan there is right now. He is the best thing the WWE has going. They could keep that belt on him until WrestleMania 40, and I would be completely fine with it. But now you got to wonder if maybe he retains, and also you got to wonder, will we see a Seth Rollins cash in? Will we see a heel turn? Now that Brock is sticking around, I don't know if he signed on for another year, or maybe now that his MMA career is over and he's officially retired from that, maybe he signed on for 2 or 3 years. So you have to think, with how over Brock is and what an ass kicker he is, and a face turn is on the horizon. So could they do a big double turn? I have mentioned many times that I don't think the WWE uses WrestleMania main events to do swerves anymore. They've only really done it once. That was when Stone Cold turned heel. Today, it's kind of a new day. It's a new era. WWE likes to showcase their product to the world, and they probably want to have Roman Reigns win in the traditional way. So having a turn, having somebody like Paul Heyman turn on Brock Lesnar, which Paul Heyman has done before, and if you notice, Paul Heyman is pretty cool about Roman Reigns. Even on the Sports Nation show that I watched, when he interrupted him on ESPN, he came out, he shook his hand, he goes, "I'm a big admirer of your work. I still think Brock Lesnar is going to kick your ass, but I have nothing against you," kind of thing. So Paul Heyman is being, somewhat friendly to Roman Reigns, so that gets your brain thinking a little bit that, maybe Paul Heyman could do what he did to Brock when Brock faced the Big Show back in 2002 and turn on him like that and go with Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns, we all know, is not the best talker, although I thought he carried himself very well in every interview he did. He did Conan and ESPN in the last couple days. He's done some other personal appearances to help build WrestleMania. I think he's carried himself very well. So I think Roman Reigns is capable of talking, but in a ring, in a WWE, in a wrestling promo type of situation, he's not the best, and maybe Paul Heyman is just the mouthpiece that he needs. So I can see how it's tempting to think that maybe there will be a heel turn. Maybe Roman Reigns will go heel, screw over Brock Lesnar with the help of Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar will leave for a little while and come back in a couple of months as a babyface. Or Roman Reigns could win the title and Seth Rollins could come cash in on him, and Brock Lesnar could leave again for a couple of months, like he probably will, even though he has resigned. I assume he'll take some sort of a hiatus after WrestleMania, and if you throw Seth Rollins into the mix, maybe he and Roman Reigns can feud for the next couple of months. But Seth Rollins, I believe, is going to have an Extreme Rules match with Randy Orton, so maybe that feud has to hold off a little while. Maybe Brock Lesnar retains, and he does stick around and defends the belt again against Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules, or vice versa. That could also be a situation. Maybe Roman Reigns wins the title. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman are fucking livid. They feel they got robbed or screwed or whatever kind of finish they're going to do. They come out the next night on Raw. They challenge Roman Reigns to a rematch at Extreme Rules, and maybe that's where the double turn takes place, and Paul Heyman turns on Brock Lesnar and aligns himself with the current WWE champion Roman Reigns. They beat the fuck out of Brock, and he gets the hell out of there and comes back at SummerSlam as a babyface. There is lots of ways it can go. If you're asking me what I want Brock Lesnar to keep the title. And now that he is re-signed, it really makes me think there's a good possibility of that, because the fans are going to shit on Roman Reigns if he wins the title. If the WWE does not add anything to this match, if they so stubbornly book this match the exact same way they've booked the last 2 Royal Rumbles, going against what every single fan out there wants, surely they don't want the final moments of WrestleMania to be a complete boo fest. They want to surprise us. They want to trick us. They want all of us to say, wow, I did not fucking see that coming. That's what I want out of this year's WrestleMania. Unfortunately, like I've mentioned so many times, it's what the WWE views WrestleMania is now that might stop this. They like to do the big, 1-hour special on NBC a couple months after WrestleMania. A big swerve and storyline angle twist is something that the general public wouldn't understand if they saw it. You know what I mean? Because they don't watch wrestling. They're just watching it because it's on prime time on a major network it happens to be on, and it's a way for WWE to get their product out there and show it to people. I would love to see it. I would love to see a heel turn. I would love to see a double turn. I would love to see a cash in. I would love to see any of those scenarios. But at the end of the day, oh my gosh, I actually think I'm going to pick Roman Reigns to win the WWE title. Reluctantly. I still think it could be Brock. I still hope it will be Brock. But judging from what the WWE wants to do, they want to make Roman Reigns, they want to give him a moment, and so I think they are going to do exactly that, and he will beat Brock Lesnar and become the new WWE champion. And I actually hope that I'm wrong. If I get every match right up until the main event of WrestleMania and I have a chance to go undefeated at WrestleMania, I'm still going to hope and I'm still going to be happy if I'm wrong. If Brock Lesnar walks out of WrestleMania with the WWE title, there will be nobody happier than good mic work. But based on what the WWE has done and the way they have relentlessly pushed Roman Reigns, Superstar of the Year, Royal Rumble victory, defeated Daniel Bryan at Fastlane, all signs point to him winning the title. Brock Lesnar's contract negotiations and contract status, and now that he's re-signed, does factor in, because that's something we've not had to think about in previous years. Last year, we didn't have to worry about Daniel Bryan or Batista or Randy Orton or Triple H's contract status to try to figure out who was going to work to win that main event. You just had to go based on storyline and what the WWE was doing, and it was obvious that Daniel Bryan was going to be the guy. This year, it's obvious that Roman Reigns is going to be the guy, but when you tie in the Brock Lesnar backstage situation, it really changes things. So for once, I'm at a fucking loss. I just hope the match is good. I believe it will be good. There's a prediction for you. I think it'll be good. Imagine a Superman punch countered into an F5. That'll look pretty fucking awesome. What if these guys have a great match? What if they tear the house down? Near falls left and right. The fans are shitting their pants, going nuts for it, marking out, and then Roman Reigns wins. Is that really going to deflate you? What if it's a great match? That's what we want to see. We want to see a great match. We want to see a great show. We want to see great entertainment. You guys know me. I've never been the guy that wraps my head too much around the winners and losers. I just want to see a good show. So I would hate to see now I know they're not going to have a 5-star match, but I would hate to see a 5-star match by Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar ruined just because Roman Reigns won. So if in fact he does win, and all of the Roman Reigns haters out there, because now all the John Cena haters have transferred that hate onto Roman Reigns, now that this guy is the latest hated guy, if he has a good match, all I'm asking from all of you, just acknowledge it. You don't have to like his push. You can be as pissed off at WWE and Vince McMahon for shoving him down your throat as you want. But if he has a good match, at least be man enough to say so. I will be up here this coming Sunday for WrestleMania, live tweeting all day. Feel free to chat with me on Twitter, on Facebook. I'll be up even a couple hours, I'm sure, before the pay-per-view even starts. I'll be up during the pre-show and all of that. I'll make a huge day of it, completely dedicated to WrestleMania, and I will be up here with a reaction video immediately following the pay-per-view. So let's all keep our fingers crossed that we can enjoy WrestleMania, try to remain positive and optimistic as best you can, and let's try to do our best to enjoy the granddaddy of them all. You guys take care, have a good week, enjoy WrestleMania. I will catch you on Sunday night. Peace.